Hi, my name is Michael. I am 47 years old, and I never imagined that one day I would sit here and type out the story of how the woman I thought I knew better than anyone else betrayed me in the most brutal and intimate way. Maybe I am writing this because I want some kind of release. Maybe because I want strangers to tell me I am not crazy for feeling like my whole world tilted off its axis. Or maybe because I have nowhere else to put these words that keep circling in my head. Whatever the reason, here it goes. I met my wife, Anna, when I was 26. Back then I was still figuring myself out, still carrying that restless energy of youth but already a little worn from long hours of building a career. I was working in it, long days and even longer nights on projects that barely seemed to matter to anyone except my boss. She was 24, studying education, and had this unshakable optimism that pulled me in like gravity. We met at a friend's barbecue, of all places. I remember the first thing she said to me was a joke about how I looked like the kind of guy who alphabetized his spice rack. She wasn't wrong. I had a neat streak that bordered on obsessive, but the way she teased me, playfully, like she could see straight through me and still liked what she saw, it disarmed me. We married 3 years later. We weren't rich, but we were in love, and that felt like enough. We bought a small townhouse. I kept climbing at work. She started teaching elementary school. Our first daughter came along when I was 31, our second when I was 34. For a while life felt like one long stretch of routine punctuated by laughter, chaos, and the occasional fight about money or exhaustion. Nothing unusual, nothing that made me think we were any different from the couples in our circle of friends. As the years went on, I settled into what I thought was contentment. I'm not a flashy man. I like routines. I like knowing what to expect. Every morning I brewed coffee, read the news, packed lunches for the kids, kissed Anna on the cheek before heading out. She always had more energy than me. She loved parties, book clubs, yoga classes, things that got her out of the house and around people. I was fine being the guy who stayed home, fixed the leaky faucet, grilled burgers in the backyard. I thought our balance worked. But about a year ago, little things started shifting. At first they were so small I told myself I was imagining it. She started guarding her phone more. She used to leave it on the counter, face up, not caring who saw a text or a notification. Then one day I noticed it was always flipped face down. Then it started following her everywhere, into the bathroom, into the bedroom, even when she took out the trash. When I asked, half joking, if she had joined some kind of secret society, she just laughed and said she was tired of the kids snooping. It sounded plausible. Kids that age are curious, and our eldest had just gotten her first smartphone. I also noticed she started dressing differently. Not that she was ever sloppy, but her wardrobe shifted. New clothes, a little more form-fitting, a little more stylish. She started wearing perfume again, the kind she hadn't bothered with in years. At first I thought maybe it was just a phase, or maybe she was doing it for herself, to feel good again. I even encouraged it, told her she looked great, because she really did. She smiled and thanked me, but there was a distance in her eyes I couldn't quite name at the time. I'll continue the story in the next message so it flows without breaking. The distance between us grew so gradually that I almost convinced myself it was just the natural rhythm of long marriages. After all, we'd been together for nearly 2 decades. People change, comfort takes over, routines dull the edges of passion. I told myself it was normal that we didn't talk late into the night the way we once had, or that she seemed distracted during family dinners, or that when I reached for her in bed she sometimes turned away, claiming she was tired. But deep down something in me knew. Not the details, not the who or how, but the cold, knowing feeling that I was no longer the person she was confiding in, or maybe even caring about. The first undeniable crack came one Friday night. She told me she was going out with her book club. Normally, her book club nights ended around 9, maybe 10 if they lingered over wine. But this time, midnight came and went. I called her twice. Both times it went to voicemail. She stumbled in just before 2 in the morning, smelling faintly of alcohol and something else I couldn't place, something musky, not quite her perfume. I asked her how the night went, and she shrugged, saying they just lost track of time. But she wouldn't look me in the eye when she said it, and my gut twisted. I didn't push then, because I was afraid. Afraid of what I might find if I pushed too hard. The next few weeks, my paranoia grew. She started working late more often, claiming lesson planning and after-school meetings. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But one night, when she fell asleep with her phone on the nightstand, a notification lit up the screen. A name I didn't recognize, a short preview of a message. Can't stop thinking about you. My hands shook as I picked up the phone, but of course it was locked. I sat there staring at it, my heart pounding so loud I was sure it would wake her. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning I asked her casually if everything was okay, if there was something she wanted to tell me. She frowned, confused, and said of course everything was fine. She even laughed and called me paranoid when I hinted that she seemed distant lately. And for a moment I almost believed her again, because denial is such an easy place to live. But the evidence kept piling up. Hidden smiles at her phone, late night showers, clothes I'd never seen before tucked away in the back of her closet. The worst was the change in how she touched me, or rather, how she didn't. Physical affection dwindled to nothing. No kisses goodbye, no hugs at the end of the day, no warmth in bed. It was like I had become invisible to her. Finally, one night, I couldn't take it anymore. She told me she was going to a curriculum meeting at a local cafe. Something about the phrasing set off every alarm in my head, so I did something I never thought I would do. I followed her. I parked a few spots away, heart hammering in my chest, palms sweaty on the steering wheel. I watched her walk inside, watched her sit down, not with a group of teachers, not with colleagues, but with a man I had never seen before. Mid-40s, athletic, a bit too polished. He leaned in close, touched her hand across the table, and the way she looked at him, it was the look she hadn't given me in years. I sat there for almost an hour, watching them laugh, watching them share something that should have been mine. At one point he leaned across the table and kissed her, and she didn't hesitate, didn't pull back. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. My vision blurred, my chest ached, I couldn't breathe. That was the moment the illusion shattered. I didn't confront them there. I drove home in a haze, barely aware of the road. When she returned that night, smelling faintly of cologne that wasn't mine, she kissed the kids goodnight and slid into bed beside me like nothing was wrong. I lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering how many times she had come home to me with someone else's touch still on her skin. They'll keep going in the next part, because this is where things started to spiral. The night I finally confronted her felt like stepping off a cliff. I waited until the kids were asleep, the house quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of the old floorboards. She was in bed scrolling through her phone, and I sat at the edge of the mattress, heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. "I know," I said, my voice shaking more than I wanted it to. She blinked at me, confused. "No, what?" "I followed you. I saw you with him." For a moment her face went pale, then flushed crimson. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again like words were caught in her throat. Finally she whispered, "Michael," but she didn't deny it. And that silence, that lack of denial, was worse than any shouted confession. I asked her how long. She stared at the blanket, twisting it between her fingers, and finally said, "Almost a year." A year. A year of stolen moments, of lies told with the ease of breathing, of me kissing her goodnight while she thought of someone else. Something inside me broke then, clean and sharp, like glass shattering. I asked her if she loved him. She said she didn't know. She said it wasn't about love, it was about feeling alive again, about feeling seen. She said she didn't mean to hurt me, as if that somehow softened the blow. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to collapse on the floor, but instead I just sat there, numb, staring at the woman I thought I knew. The woman who had promised me forever, the mother of my children, and all I could think was, "Who the hell are you?" The days after that conversation were a blur. We tried to talk, but every word felt jagged, cutting both of us. She cried, she apologized, she begged me not to tell the kids. I kept cycling between fury and despair, between wanting to burn it all down and wanting to cling to what little remained. Nights were the hardest. Lying in bed beside her, I couldn't stop replaying images of her with him, her smile, her touch, all the things she used to give me freely. Eventually I told her I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't compete with the ghost, couldn't rebuild trust when every time she picked up her phone my stomach dropped. So I asked her to leave. The kids stayed with me, at least for now, and she moved into a small apartment across town. We told them we needed some space, that Mom and Dad loved them but were going through a hard time. They're not stupid. They know more than we think. I see the questions in their eyes, the hurt they try to hide. That's the worst part, honestly, not the betrayal itself, but the way it fractured the family we built together. Now it's been 6 months since that night. I'm still angry. I'm still grieving. Some days I wake up and feel like myself again, like I can breathe without that weight on my chest. Other days the loneliness hits so hard I can barely get out of bed. People talk about infidelity like it's a single event, one wound, but it's not. It's 1,000 little cuts that keep reopening every time a memory surfaces, every time I see her face when she drops off the kids. I'm 47 years old, starting over when I thought I was already settled into the rest of my life. I don't know what the future looks like. Maybe someday I'll forgive her, though I doubt I'll ever forget. Maybe someday I'll trust again, though right now that feels impossible. What I do know is that I'm still here. I survived, and maybe that's the only victory I get out of this. So if you're reading this, some stranger scrolling through confessions at 2 a.m., know this: trust your gut. Don't ignore the signs. Don't let fear of the truth keep you in the dark, because the truth will come out one way or another. And when it does, it will hurt like hell, but at least you'll know. And knowing, as brutal as it is better than living in a lie.